You arrive at the edge of the world. Not the world itself, but the world as people once knew it. A realm where stone and spirit touched beneath the rising mist. It is early morning. The sun, still shy, peeks over the jagged mountains. A hush clings to the earth like a thick woolen blanket. You stand before a gate, a carved arch of ancient wood and cracked stone, its shape curving like a prayer made permanent. It is the entrance to a forgotten temple, one that has waited hundreds, perhaps thousands of years, for your silent footsteps. The gate does not open with creaks or groans. It welcomes you in stillness, a door not of hinges, but of presence. You step forward and cross from the world of men into the world of memory. The ground beneath your feet changes. Where once there was dirt and dust, now there are stones cool, wet from dew, placed long ago by hands that knew ritual and reverence. Each stone bears the marks of passage. Bare feet, cloak, sandals, hooves, wheels, silence. You are walking the path that so many before you walked, but none quite like this. To your left, ancient trees bend toward the sacred space. Their bark is soft with moss. Their roots weave into the earth like the fingers of a buried god. A bird sings once, and then goes quiet, as if remembering where it is. The air grows heavier here, not in weight but in intention. You breathe in slowly. There is the faintest scent of burning wood, of earth that has been turned and blessed. It mingles with old smoke, and something older, something like time itself. As you approach the first stone guardian, you stop. It is a statue, yes, but not cold, not lifeless. It watches, eyes carved from obsidian, face worn by centuries of rain and wind, mouth that holds no smile, and yet welcomes you just the same. You bow without knowing why. Perhaps it is instinct. Perhaps your bones remember what your mind has forgotten. The temple complex lies just beyond this guardian. Low stone walls surround a courtyard, its center filled with polished tiles, arranged like constellations underfoot. You walk slowly. Each step is deliberate, not forced, but mindful. You notice tiny offerings left along the edges. A cracked bowl filled with dried jasmine petals. A copper coin darkened by time. A single white feather, perhaps carried here by a breeze, or left by a hand too gentle to be seen. You pause near a basin of water. Its surface is still, so still that it reflects not only your face, but something behind you that isn't there. You don't turn around. You don't need to. The temple is aware of you now. It knows. A breeze picks up, not harsh, not chilling, just enough to make the prayer flags flutter. You look up. They're red, gold, blue, and green, faded by sun, frayed by time, but still dancing, each one stitched with symbols too delicate to understand. You hear a bell, soft, distant. It rings once, then again, then silence. Isn't a call to worship. Not exactly. It's a signal, a reminder that time moves differently here. You are no longer outside. You are inside. Inside the memory of this place. Inside its quiet rituals. Inside its breath. You pass beneath another arch, this one lower, narrower. A threshold meant to make you bow. Humbled even before stone. The inner courtyard is colder. Shadows hold to corners. A slow trickle of water echoes from somewhere unseen, perhaps from the mountain spring beneath the floor. You feel the floor now, not with your feet, but with your chest. It vibrates, barely, with the heartbeat of the temple itself. You've entered a space, not built for noise, but for noticing. Every scratch in the wall, every groove in the stone, every faint scent that lingers in the corners. They are part of a long ritual that begins not with a chant, but with awareness. You breathe in again. You hold that breath for a moment. You release it slowly. There is no rush here. No ticking clock. Only space, and sound, and stillness. The first ritual is arrival, not with the body, but with the self. And now you are here, not in the temple, but within its rhythm, its breath, the story, and it has only just begun. You take your first full step into the sacred stone corridor. It stretches before you like a forgotten river, each slab a silent echo of footsteps long gone. The path is uneven, yet not harsh, shaped by years, centuries, perhaps even millennia, of pilgrims, priests, and strangers like you. Soft moss grows in the cracks between the stones, small tufts of green threading through the ancient gray, cushions your steps. It slows your breath. You feel it again, that invisible shift in space, as though time itself has thinned, and you now walk between worlds. To your left, low stone walls, cradle carvings worn by wind. The stories are faint, but not lost. A procession of figures, hands raised, heads bowed, robes flowing like water. Some hold lamps, others carry bowls, and a few simply kneel. You run your fingers across the worn relief, feeling where the chisel once pressed. Every groove was a prayer, every shape a message. And now, they speak not with sound, but with silence. The air grows cooler. A shadow passes overhead, but no bird is seen. The roof above this narrow hallway is high, too high for anything to perch. And yet, you feel watched, not with menace, but with knowing. The temple remembers, each traveler, each offering, each whispered name spoken into its walls. You wonder how many lives have passed this way, how many hopes, how many fears, and how many left different than they arrived. Your steps slow further. You are no longer walking, you are floating. The ground feels soft, not from the moss alone, but from the weight you've begun to shed. The outside world, its noise, its rush, its expectation, melts. You are not here to perform. You are not here to understand. You are here to be. Along the path, you notice offerings, small ones, a pebble set carefully atop a carved symbol, a string of dried seeds tied around an old root, the fragile bones of a bird, arranged like a sigil. No signs explain these gifts. No labels, only presence, only purpose. You begin to feel something stir in your chest. Not emotion, not memory, but stillness. The kind that hums, low and gentle, just beneath awareness. You pause near a stone bench, half covered in ivy. It seems placed for no reason, yet perfectly placed all the same. You sit, and the moment you do, you hear it. Faint humming, not from outside, from the walls, from the path itself. It is not a song, but a rhythm, a resonance buried so deeply, only stillness can reveal it. You close your eyes. Behind the lids, images come softly. A woman in white robes lighting a single flame. A boy carrying a bowl of salt to the altar. An old man, barefoot, sweeping petals into a spiral. None of them speak, and yet they tell you everything. You open your eyes again. The path continues. You rise slowly, as if waking from a dream you don't want to leave behind. The next section of the path narrows. Walls rising higher, stone darker. Lichen climbs the edges like ancient veins. A shaft of light cuts through a break above, illuminating a single tile in the floor, one far newer than the rest. You kneel beside it. Unlike the others, this one is etched with a symbol sharp and clear. A spiral, surrounded by 4 marks: north, east, south, west. A compass, or something older. You touch it gently. It is warm, not from sunlight, from something else, something remembered. A whisper follows, not in your ears, but in your bones. Keep walking. The heart listens before the mind. You rise again. The corridor opens slightly, and the air changes. More fragrant now. Resin, sweet smoke, and the faint trace of sandalwood. You realize you're nearing the heart of the temple. The rituals you've only imagined are happening now. Somewhere ahead, the sacred fire still burns. Somewhere ahead, hands still offer, voices still hum, but not loudly, not forcefully. Like the path you walk, they wait for your quiet arrival. You glance behind you, not from fear, but gratitude. The path has guided you gently, patiently, and it will never close. Even when your steps leave this place, it will still exist. Within, you inhale once more, deeply. The stones remember, the silence invites, the mystery welcomes, and as you cross into the next chamber, you do not wonder what comes next. You only listen. Light enters, not all at once, but in threads. Gentle beams spill through narrow slits in the ceiling, not random cracks, but carefully carved channels, designed to guide the rising sun. The light does not shout, it does not flood, it seeps softly, reverently, like a guest bowing as it enters a sacred room. You pause at the threshold. Before you stretches the inner chamber, its walls tall and curved, lined with columns that whisper of balance and breath. The scent of night still lingers here, burnt oil, damp stone, ashes, and age. But now, light arrives, and with it, the first stirrings of life. You listen, not for footsteps, not for voices, but for something deeper, the sound of awakening, a faint shift of cloth, the quiet clearing of a throat, the soft touch of bare feet against polished stone. The temple does not wake in noise, it wakes in rhythm, and you are part of that rhythm now. You step forward, and your shadow merges with the golden line of morning light. It reaches across the floor, touching an altar carved from red stone, smooth, low, simple. Upon it sits a bowl, still steaming, warm oil, infused with herbs, sage, myrrh, lavender, and something unknown. You lean closer. The aroma is thick, but not heavy, curls into your senses, pulling your breath into stillness. This is the first offering of the day, not to be seen, not to be praised, simply to be. Far above a single bell chimes. It is not struck by hand. It is caught by light. Each morning, as the sun rises, its beam passes through a small round hole and touches the suspended bell. At exactly the right moment, a soft, perfect note echoes through the chamber. It vibrates through your chest, as though it were meant only for you. This is how the temple greets the day. Not with drums, not with song, with silence, and one perfect sound. You step toward a column wrapped in faded cloth. It flutters lightly, though there is no wind. Etched into its base are symbols. Not language, but movement, waves, swirls, repetitions. You run your hand over them, feeling the story instead of reading it. This place is older than words, and yet you understand. Near the altar, a priest moves. He does not speak. He does not look at you. He lifts a feathered fan, dips it into the warm oil, and waves it through the air with 3 gentle motions. One for the sky, one for the earth, one for the space in between. You watch, and feel a peace settle over you, like warm cloth draped across your shoulders. The light brightens now, not fiercely, but fully. It touches the edges of statues, turning their faces gold. It spills across the floor, highlighting faint tracks in the dust, evidence of midnight prayers, or dreams made manifest. A large stone basin in the corner catches your attention. Within it, clear water, still, silent, sacred. The priest approaches it too. He dips his fingers in, then presses them to his forehead, his lips, his chest. A silent blessing, a quiet reminder of breath, speech, and heart. You approach once he steps away. You too dip your fingers. The water is cool, almost ancient, not just in age, but in feeling, as if it remembers every hand that touched it, every fear washed away within it. You close your eyes, touch forehead, lips, chest, and you feel something loosen, a knot untying within, not in pain, but in recognition. This is how the temple begins its day, with simple acts, repeated, not out of habit, but of purpose. In one corner, a woman kneels on woven mats. She holds no book, no scroll, only a single flower, pressed between her palms. She breathes in, she exhales, then sets the flower beside her and bows. No one sees her, no one claps, and yet the room brightens, if only by a breath. This is ritual, not performance, but presence. You stand in the center of the chamber now. Above you, the ceiling stretches like a sky of stone. The light shifts, moving from one pillar to the next. A slow dance that repeats every morning, for as long as the temple has stood, and maybe longer. You feel it in your ribs, your neck, your fingertips. The awakening isn't outside you. It's happening inside. The temple does not ask you to pray. It does not ask you to kneel. It only asks you to notice, to feel, to become still enough, to remember what you've forgotten. And in this moment, you do. The sun is now high enough that the whole chamber glows. It is no longer dim, but soft, bathed in gold and pale white light. Dust dances in the air like falling stars. A breeze passes through the columns. Chimes ring lightly from somewhere unseen, and the temple exhales. Morning has come. The silence remains. But now, it hums with welcome. You close your eyes, and let the day begin within you. There is a room, just beyond the main chamber, small, circular, carved from black stone. It is darker here, not cold, but dim, as if the air itself were waiting. You step inside, and immediately, you feel the warmth, not from sunlight, from something older, something alive. In the center of the room, a fire burns, contained within a round stone basin, its edges smoothed by generations of tending hands. The flame is low, not wild, not loud. It flickers in steady, soft pulses, like a heart breathing. This is the temple's inner flame, and the one who watches over it is already here, the Firekeeper. You see them kneeling beside the flame, draped in simple linen, barefoot, still. They do not speak, but every movement is its own quiet language. They lift a bowl, filled with curled pieces of resin and bark, amber, cedar, frankincense, each chosen carefully, ground with intention, blessed with breath. The Firekeeper leans forward, and with a graceful motion, sprinkles the offering into the flame. A soft sizzle, a faint glow, then the scent rises, thick, earthy, sweet and sharp at once. The room changes, not in shape, but in feeling. The smoke curls upward, spiraling toward a narrow shaft in the ceiling, a silent invitation to the heavens above. You watch as the Firekeeper tends the flame, not to control it, but to care for it. They use a long, curved tool to stir the coals gently, never rushing, never forcing. This fire has never gone out. Not once. It has been burning for centuries, kept alive through storms, war, famine, silence. The Firekeeper is not just a priest. They are a memory in motion. Each action they take is a ritual handed down hand to hand, voice to voice, heart to heart. You sit quietly at the edge of the room, feeling the warmth of the flame brush your skin. The walls are covered in charcoal patterns, spirals, flames, circles nested within each other. They were drawn with fire, or rather from it. No one repaints them. No one updates them. They are not meant to change, only to remind. The Firekeeper reaches for a vessel. It is made of copper, and when tilted, pours a few drops of sacred oil into the fire. It hisses softly, then glows brighter. You feel something in your chest mirror it. A warmth expanding, a slow opening. Your eyes close for a moment. In the quiet, you begin to feel how fire lives. It is not only light. It is not only heat. It is a presence. It listens. It responds. It remembers. There is a legend. The Firekeeper whispers, their first words barely a breath. Each flame is born from the first light, and all flames know where they came from. You open your eyes. They are looking at you now, not with curiosity, not with question, with understanding. The Firekeeper dips a small branch, wrapped in cloth and herbs, into a basin of oil. They light it in the sacred fire, then hand it to you. You hold it carefully. The flame dances at the tip, crackles softly, like it knows your name. You are guided to a smaller altar, just behind the central flame. You are told, no need for words, no need for ritual, only attention. You place the branch upon the stone dish. It rests gently. The flame continues to burn, and something inside you burns too. Not painfully, not destructively, but purely. The firekeeper bows once, then turns back to tend the main fire. You stay a while longer, watching the flickering glow play against the walls. Feels like the flame is whispering stories, tales of births, deaths, promises kept, and time that never stops. You understand now why this flame is never allowed to die, because it is more than fire. It is memory, it is breath, it is soul. Before you leave, the firekeeper reaches out and presses your palm, right over your heart. They say nothing, but you feel it. The warmth stays with you, even as you rise, even as you step back into the temple halls. The flame is inside you now, burning softly, patiently, forever. You return to the outer corridor, but something feels different now. Not in what you see, but in what you hear. It begins like a breath, a single sound, thin and high, almost inaudible. But then another joins, then another, and another still. A low vibration rises in the distance, a harmony of tones, neither song nor speech, but something in between. You follow it, slowly, gently, as if not to disturb it. The sound leads you down a passage lined with cloth banners. They sway slightly, though the air is still. Their faded colors shimmer in the filtered light. Blues, deep reds, dusty golds. Each banner is embroidered with symbols, some sharp, some flowing. They are not meant to be read, but felt. As you pass them, you feel the chanting grow stronger. It's not louder, just deeper, like it's entering your chest now, vibrating along your bones. And then, you find them, a circle of robed figures, kneeling upon stone mats, around a central bowl of smoldering herbs. Their heads are bowed, hands resting lightly upon their thighs, eyes closed, but their voices move like wind through the chamber. It is not in any language you know, not one you could speak, but somehow you understand. Each voice is different, one low and gravelly, one high and thin, another like water running over rock. And yet, they do not clash. They spiral, layered, woven, endless. You stand at the edge of the space, watching as the sound circles and folds upon itself. No instruments, no rhythm, only breath, only voice. This is no performance. There is no audience. There is no need for applause. The chant is not for others. It is for the temple, for the spirit that lives within its walls, for the wind and the flame and the stone. The priest at the center of the circle slowly lifts their head. They raise a hand, not to stop, but to guide. And as one, the voices shift, now lower, now steadier, now slower. You feel as though the sound has wrapped around you, like warm cloth, drawn tight across your shoulders. You close your eyes. You listen. The chant becomes sensation. You feel it in your teeth, your spine, your breath. A deep part of you stirs, a part that cannot speak, but can hum, can echo, can remember. A memory comes, one not from this life. You are kneeling. You are chanting too. Your hands are pressed together. There is dust on your robes, smoke in your hair, and the sound is yours. You blink. The memory is gone, but its warmth remains. You open your eyes again. The priest at the center is watching you now. Their expression is not surprise, nor curiosity. It is welcome. They raise their other hand, and the chant stops, not all at once, like a tide retreating. One voice falls silent, then another, and finally, only breath remains. Silence, full, weightless. And in that silence, the air feels holy. The priest speaks a single word, low and soft, like a pebble dropped into a still pool. You don't understand the word, but somehow, your chest softens when you hear it. They bow their head to the circle. The others bow in return. And then slowly, each one rises, not in rush, not in noise, but with purpose. The priest gestures toward a small stool set near the wall. An invitation. You sit. They kneel before you, no closer than needed. And again they speak. A few short syllables. Their voice is kind, but ancient, like it belongs to time, not to age. They reach into the satchel beside them and pull out a folded cloth. From within it, a scroll, thin, cracked at the edges, unrolled with care. You don't know the symbols, but your breath deepens when you see them. They do not explain. They do not instruct. They begin to chant again, softly, only for you. One line, then silence. Another, then a pause. Each phrase is spaced by stillness. You feel your eyes close again, not from tiredness, from peace, from surrender. The priest's chant feels like water, washing dust from places you didn't know were dirty. It doesn't ask you to believe. It only asks you to be. The sound rises slightly. One more time, one more breath, and then ends. The scroll is closed. The cloth is folded, and the priest bows their head once more. You return the bow, not because you should, but because you must. The chant still echoes in your mind, not in words, not in notes, just tone, presence, a hum. You rise. The other voices are gone now. The chamber is still, but within you, the chant continues, soft, endless, like wind inside your breath. You leave the echo of the chants behind, but their rhythm follows you, like a silent thread, woven into your breath. The corridors grow cooler now, the air sharper, moist with something ancient, something flowing. Ahead, you hear it before you see it. Water, not rushing, not pouring, but trickling, a soft, constant rhythm, steady, reassuring. You turn a corner and find yourself beneath an archway, carved with flowing waves, coiled serpents, and open palms. This is the cleansing hall, the place where pilgrims shed the weight they carried, not just dust from the road, but sorrow, anger, and everything unspoken. The floor is smooth, worn by bare feet, cool beneath your soles. The walls are quiet, rounded, as if carved by water itself. In the center of the chamber lies the bath, a shallow pool, lined with blue-green stone, polished so finely, you can see the ceiling reflected in its rippling surface. No priests, no watchers. This part of the temple belongs only to you. You kneel at the edge of the water. It laps gently, inviting, patient. A small basin sits beside you, carved from volcanic stone, filled with crushed herbs, lotus root, mint, and flower dust, from petals long since faded. You dip your fingers into the mixture. The texture is soft, like aged parchment. You take a small pinch and sprinkle it into the water. The surface stirs. Tiny bubbles rise, then disappear, and then you feel it. The scent, fresh, green, awake, but still calming, like rain in the early hours, like dew gathering on forgotten leaves. You slip your hand into the pool. The temperature surprises you. Not cold, not warm, just honest. The kind of temperature that doesn't ask you to change. The kind that accepts you as you are. You cup the water in both hands and lift it to your face. It drips slowly over your skin. Cool trails down your cheeks, across your chin, into the hollow of your throat. You feel the tension release, quietly, willingly. Another handful, this time for your shoulders. Another, for your chest. Then, you let your fingers glide across your scalp, your neck, your temples. Not washing, but remembering that this body, this breath, has carried you through all things. The water honors that. It asks for nothing in return. You immerse your hands again and let them rest just beneath the surface. Eyes closed, mind still. You begin to hear it again. Not the chant, not the flame, but something older. A hum within the water. A memory too quiet for language. You see flashes, not visions, impressions. A mother washing a newborn in the moonlight, a traveler cupping water to offer the sky, a dying elder having their hands bathed. As their breath slows, the water remembers. It has never forgotten. You inhale deeply, hold, exhale slowly. One of the carved serpents on the wall seems to move, ever so slightly, as the sunlight shifts. It's not real, you tell yourself, but maybe it is. Maybe everything here is alive. In a way the outside world has forgotten. You dip a small cloth into the pool, set beside the basin, without anyone placing it. You draw it over your arms, your hands, your chest. Each pass smooths you, like wind softens stone, like water shapes time. There is no mirror here, no need. You are not meant to observe yourself. You are meant to feel. You are not cleaning the body. You are clearing the spirit. And now, you are light, not weightless, but freed. You set the cloth aside, fold it. You rise slowly. The droplets trace lines down your skin, like silver threads. The pool settles. Its ripples fade. The silence deepens, but its gift remains. You take one final scoop of water, and with both hands, you lift it to the sky, a quiet offering, and then you let it fall. It splashes gently, like laughter in a sacred space. You step backward, never turning your back to the pool. At the edge of the hall, a dry cloth waits. You take it, wrap it around your hands, your shoulders, not to dry, but to seal in what has been given. You look one last time at the water. It is still now, but it has changed. So have you. You bow not out of ritual, but out of gratitude. And as you exit the cleansing hall, you feel the temple breathe with you, lighter, wiser, quieter, washed, and whole. The air changes. As you move forward, the scent of herbs and smoke gives way to something sweeter, thicker, like honey warmed by sunlight, like the perfume of old cedar chests, and powdered rose petals, left in silence. You pass through a narrow arch, into a long sunlit gallery. This is the Hall of Offerings. Here time does not rush. It waits. It listens. It gleams. All along the walls, low platforms are arranged, stone trays, cushions, and brass bowls, and resting in them are gifts, not treasures of kings, not tokens of conquest, but offerings, simple, precious in their intention. You see a carved wooden toy, hand-polished, edges worn smooth from generations. You see dried figs, carefully wrapped in linen, a single peacock feather, a coin, not ancient, but given with care. Each item is a prayer made visible. You walk slowly, careful not to let your shadow fall. Across the trays, your footsteps echo like whispers. At the far end of the gallery, a woman in golden robes kneels beside a table. She is old. Her hair is silver, braided down her back like a river. Her hands are stained with pigment. Gold dust clings to her fingers, like starlight. She does not speak as you approach, but she nods once and gestures to the empty table beside her. A space has been prepared for you. She places a shallow dish in front of you, porcelain white, unmarked. Then she lays out the tools: a small brush, tiny spoon, a bowl of golden powder, shimmering like sand from a celestial shore, and last, a piece of soft cloth. She bows slightly, then returns to her own work. There are no instructions. There is no ceremony. Only this: create with intention, offer with truth. You reach for the brush, feels weightless. You dip it into the golden dust. You do not know what shape you will make, but your hand does. Slowly, delicately, you trace a spiral in the center of the dish, then a circle around it, then lines radiating outward like the sun. It's not perfect, but it's sincere, and that, in this place, is more precious than gold itself. You pause, place the brush down. You reach for the spoon, a single scoop of fragrant resin, something sweet and woody. You sprinkle it into the center of the dish. then a few petals, from a faded marigold you didn't realize you were carrying. In the folds of your robe, a final touch, a breath. You look at what you've made. It is small, simple, but it carries something of you, and that makes it sacred. You rise slowly, holding the dish with both hands. The woman in gold meets your eyes. She smiles, a soft, knowing smile that speaks of hundreds of offerings before yours. She gestures to a raised altar in the center of the hall. You walk toward it. The altar is stone, smooth, dark, cold, but the top shimmers with the faintest sheen of gold dust from centuries of gifts laid down and lifted up. You place your dish gently in the center, not as a display, not as proof, but as a whisper to the unseen. Your heart speaks in silence. This is what I carry. This is what I give. And the temple accepts. There is no sound, no flash, no sign, but in your chest, you feel a soft shift, as if a burden has lifted, or as if your spirit has exhaled. You step back. The woman is watching. She nods, bows, and you bow in return. Before leaving, you notice the sunlight, streaming in from a high window, catches your dish, just right, and for a moment, the gold reflects upward, onto the ceiling, a soft, shimmering circle of light, like the flame you once saw, like the chant you once heard, like the water that once cleansed you. Everything in this temple, you realize, connects. Every ritual, every offering, every breath, part of the same song, unheard by most, but never forgotten. You exit the hall of offerings, not with less, but with more, not with answers, but with peace. You gave your gift, but you received one too, the gift of release, the gift of reverence, the gift of being seen by something greater than words. You step beyond the hall of offerings, and the air begins to change again, heavier now, but not in a burdensome way. Feels like velvet, thick, soft, and full of silence. Here, the temple reveals a deeper truth. There are places not meant for every traveler, paths that only open when your spirit is quiet, enough to hear the invitation. You do not know how you were chosen, but you feel it, presence, calling, waiting. You pass into a narrow corridor, its walls lined with faded murals. Ancient symbols spiral upward, unfamiliar yet oddly comforting. They tell stories, not with images, but with feeling. A circle, a line, a hand, an eye, not drawn to be understood, but to be known. At the end of the corridor, a doorway appears, arched, heavy, its frame carved with interlocking figures. You reach for the handle, but there is none. Instead, you place your palm on the center, warm, alive, as if the stone breathes beneath your skin. Then, a soft click, a release. The door parts with a hush, like sand falling through fingers. You step inside. The chamber is dim, lit only by small oil lamps, nestled into the walls. Their flames are steady, uncertain of time, but sure of their purpose. This is the inner circle, a sacred space, where the guardians of the temple have gathered for lifetimes beyond memory. Not guards, not warriors, but watchers, keepers of silence, protectors of what cannot be written. In the center of the room, a low round table, stone polished to mirror sheen. Around it, 8 cushions, carefully placed. 7 are occupied. The 8th waits for you. You hesitate, not from fear, but reverence. Each guardian wears different robes, not of rank, but of memory. One in deep red, faded at the seams. Another in moss green, woven with silver threads. Another in white, simple and unadorned. Their faces are calm, older than time, and yet untouched by it. They say nothing, but their silence welcomes you. You sit. The stone beneath you is cold, but your heartbeat is warm. One of the guardians, the one in indigo, reaches beneath the table and draws out a box. It is not grand, just wood, worn smooth by centuries of touch. They open it. Inside, small tokens, not coins, not jewels, but fragments of something larger. Petal carved from bone, a sliver of obsidian, a folded parchment, sealed with wax that has cracked 100 times. Each item is a memory, a vow, a secret. They pass the box to you. No instruction, no speech, just trust. You look inside, and you feel it, that one of these objects was meant for your hands. You reach slowly, gently. Your fingers rest on a small stone disc, inscribed with a spiral, almost worn away. You hold it, and the memory floods in. But it's not yours. It's ancient. Echoes of feet in the rain, of laughter in a place now ruined, of someone standing where you now sit, offering this same disc. Long ago, you place it in front of you, on the table. The guardians bow their heads. The one in white touches their fingers to their lips, then presses them to the table, a sign of truth, of silent communion. You do the same, and you realize you've become part of something far greater than understanding, a tradition that lives, not in books, but in breath. The guardian in green begins to hum, low, resonant. It vibrates through the table, into your hands, your spine, one by one. Each joins, not a chant, but a harmony, a remembering. Your voice joins too. You do not question how. It just rises, effortless. You are not singing words. You are speaking presence. And the chamber glows faintly, as if the very air hums with memory. Then, silence again. Perfect. Complete. The guardian in red speaks a single word. You do not understand it, but it feels like a door opening in your chest. You bow. They bow. No titles were given. No instructions spoken. But something within you has changed. You are no longer a visitor. You are a bearer, a keeper. You rise from your cushion. The table remains. The flame continues. You leave the inner circle slowly, your steps measured, anchored. The temple does not whisper now. It watches, not from above, but from within. You pass back through the corridor. The murals shimmer. The spiral symbols make sense, not in words, but in feeling. And though your hands are empty, your spirit carries something new. Responsibility, reverence, and above all, remembrance. The passage narrows once more, not in space, but in sound. The echoes behind you soften, becoming distant, as if the temple itself is quieting its breath. You walk slowly, guided by a subtle glow ahead, a flicker, dancing low, like a heartbeat in the dark. There are no more wall carvings here, no statues, no offerings, only stone, smooth and ancient, as if time itself has been worn into its surface. Then, you arrive. Before you is a chamber unlike any you've seen, perfectly round, silent, still, and in its center burns the sacred flame. It rises from a bowl of obsidian, black as the void, but pulsing with soft red veins, like rivers of old blood and memory. The flame is small, no taller than your hand, but it fills the room with an impossible warmth. Not heat, but presence. You feel it, before you feel yourself, as if your soul steps forward first, and your body follows. You kneel, unbidden. There are no priests here, no watchers, only the flame, flickers, but it does not waver. You notice its color, not yellow, not orange, but deep gold, like the heart of the sun, seen through half-closed eyes. You lower your gaze, and it flickers again. It knows you are here, not to look, but to listen, for this flame does not burn to destroy, it burns to remember. They say it has never gone out, not during war, not during storms, not during centuries, when the temple lay forgotten, beneath sand, ash, and silence. It lived on, quiet, steady, a fire that holds, not just heat, but time. You watch its movement, gentle, curving. It leans, then straightens, as if dancing, with something only it can see. And slowly, you begin to see it too. Within the flame are images, faint, fleeting, a boy lighting a lamp for his grandmother, a woman whispering a prayer into a lantern, a warrior laying down his sword before the fire and walking away in peace. You blink, and they are gone, but you are not surprised. You understand now. The flame does not show you memories. It shows you truths. Each flicker is a thread that ties the past to the present, a reminder that nothing is ever lost, only transformed. You reach forward, not to touch, but to feel. The warmth radiates, without burning. It wraps around your fingers, like breath. It moves into your chest, like a second heart. You feel yourself soften, dissolve, not in fear, but in trust. You close your eyes, and the flame speaks, not in sound, not in language, but in knowing. You are the continuation. You are not the first to kneel in this light, and you will not be the last. But you are here now, and that is everything. You inhale. The scent is like cedar and myrrh, like lightning striking sacred earth. You remember moments, not from this life, but others, lives once lived. A flame in a different temple, a child hiding a candle in a storm, a monk carrying a coal in silence across a frozen plain. You feel tears gather, not of sadness, not of joy, but of recognition. The flame continues. It does not dim. It does not ask. It simply is. You bow your head fully now, forehead to the floor, arms at your sides. And in that stillness, in that perfect submission, you feel lighter, not empty, but aligned. You stay like this until your breath and the flame move as one. Then slowly, you rise. You do not turn your back on the flame. You walk backward to the threshold, your eyes soft, your heart open. Before you leave, you press 2 fingers to your chest, and then to the floor. Promise, unspoken, undeniable. The flame remains, and now, so does a part of you. You step into the corridor. The sound returns, a breeze, faint chant, from somewhere far. But within you, the fire burns still. You carry it, a golden thread of warmth and knowing, woven into your being. And now you understand. The temple does not only live in stone, it lives in those who carry its flame. The flame fades behind you as the hallway bends once again, but its warmth lingers within your chest, a quiet ember, glowing with remembrance. Your steps are slower now, not from weariness, but from reverence. Every turn of the temple feels more sacred than the last. Every corridor whispers deeper truths. You pass a series of alcoves, each empty, each perfectly round, as if waiting for something long forgotten. And then you hear it, not sound exactly, but an absence, a hush so complete, it hums. You turn a final corner and find yourself before a vast archway, taller than any you've seen. No carvings, no guards, no flame, just silence. And in its heart, a single object, hanging from the ceiling, by a thread of braided silver, suspended in stillness, is the bell that never rings. It is enormous, larger than a man, made of metal so dark. It swallows the light. You approach. Your breath slows. Time feels suspended, like a held note in an ancient song. The bell is carved with markings, not words, but symbols, crescents, rising waves, falling stars. They ripple across its surface, like a tide that never breaks. And you notice, beneath it, the floor is untouched by dust, as if nothing dares to settle. Beneath the bell's shadow, you stand before it, and something inside you tightens, not fear, but reverence so deep, it roots your feet to stone. This bell, you realize, has not rung in hundreds of years, perhaps longer, and yet every corner of the temple feels bound to it, as if everything, the flame, the offering, the chants, All orbit this silence. You sit before it, and wait. There is no chant, no priest, no ceremony, just you, and the bell. You close your eyes, and listen, not with your ears, but with your spirit. And then, faintly, barely there, you feel the memory of a sound, as if, somewhere deep in the temple's bones, the bell once rang, and the echo never truly stopped. You see it then, in your mind's eye, a gathering of monks, long ago, all in white, all kneeling in rows, the flame behind them, the offerings before them, and the bell, waiting, until one, the eldest, stood. He did not speak. He simply raised his hand, and with it, a small mallet, wrapped in cloth. He approached the bell. His steps sounded like thunder. In the hush, he lifted the mallet, paused, then struck. Only once. The sound was not loud, but it was final. It moved through stone, through bone, through time. A sound not of warning, but of completion. A closing of something vast. An end, not in sorrow, but in peace. You return to yourself. The bell still hangs, in perfect stillness. It does not need to ring again. This one sound was enough to echo forever. You rise, bow your head, and walk backward until the bell is out of sight. You understand now why it never rings. Its purpose is not to interrupt, but to remind that all things, even temples, even lives, and in that ending, there is release. You pass back into the corridor. Behind you, the silence deepens. Not empty, but whole. The kind of silence that cradles truth without needing to speak it. The kind of silence that waits patiently. At the end of all things, you place your hand on your chest, and you feel the echo there, a faint hum, where the bell's memory lives on. You do not need to hear it again. You carry its meaning now, and you understand the bell that never rings does not exist to be heard. It exists to remind us of the sacred weight of silence. You move gently away from the bell, its presence still humming softly, in your chest like a sleeping memory. The corridor bends once again, but this time, you notice something curious. The air isn't just still, feels alive, not in the way a breeze dances through the leaves of a forest, but in the way a story waits to be told. As you step forward, your footfall makes the faintest sound, and then you hear it, a whisper, so soft, could have been imagined. You pause, turn your head, nothing. You walk again, another whisper, and again, not voices, not words, but echoes, subtle ripples in the air, as if the stone itself was remembering. The path opens into a long, narrow hall. It stretches into the dark, but the walls curve inward slightly, almost protectively, like arms cradling time itself. You run your fingers along the wall, cool, ancient stone, smooth in some places, rough in others, and suddenly it speaks, not in sound, but in feeling. You feel warmth under your fingertips, and a thought rises in your mind. A woman laughing near the temple gate, a child wrapped in linen on her back. You gasp, step back. The image fades. You reach forward again, this time with both hands. You walk slowly, hands brushing gently against the stone. Each contact, a new sensation, a new echo, a monk humming to himself while sweeping dried leaves. A storm rattling the ceiling as three guardians meditate in silence. A lover's hand pressed against the wall, waiting for someone who never returned. This place is not just a hallway, it's a library, a sacred archive, not written in ink, but in emotion. The walls absorb what happens here, then cradle it. For those gentle enough to listen, you close your eyes and walk blind. The echoes flow through you now, not loud, not clear, but certain. You feel not just stories, but presence, pain, joy, longing, hope, like water passing over you, leaving behind memories, as soft as breath. You pause beside a deep groove in the stone. You press your palm against it, a surge of heat, and suddenly you know, someone once carved here. During a long night of grief and rain, their lover was gone. Their world had changed, but they couldn't speak it aloud. So they scratched it into the wall, over and over, until their fingers bled. You remove your hand. The groove remains, but the pain feels healed now, witnessed. You move on. Farther down, you find a section of wall that feels colder, not unfriendly, just closed. You press gently, and you understand. This is where the names of those lost were once whispered, too sacred to carve. So the walls held their names, like lullabies, whispered in the dark. You take a deep breath, and in your softest voice, you speak, "May you be remembered." The cold softens. A faint warmth pulses beneath the surface, and for a moment, it's as if the wall sighs. You smile, and continue. The corridor begins to brighten, not from torches or fire, but from soft streaks of light, filtering through narrow cracks above, as if the sky itself is peeking in. To witness these secrets, you find yourself at the end of the passage, but before leaving, you turn. You stand in the center, and you whisper, not for yourself, but for all the stories the walls still hold. I hear you, carry you. You are not lost. And then, something extraordinary happens. The walls whisper back, not in words, not in sound, but in peace, a deep stillness that sinks into your bones, a sense of being cradled by something ancient and kind, the kind of stillness only found in places that have loved many and forgotten none. You bow your head and step forward into the next chapter of the temple. You leave the whispering hallway behind, its echoes still trailing, like feathers in the air. Your footsteps now feel softer, not just because of the worn stone beneath, but because of what you carry, a reverence, a listening. The corridor narrows again, but not in height or width, in presence. There is something ahead that demands silence, not through fear, but awe. You reach a small threshold, no door, just an opening in the stone, and beyond it, stillness. You step inside, and immediately, you feel it. This is no ordinary chamber, no shrine, no archive, no display. It is quiet here, but not empty. You are not alone. This is the room of forgotten names. The space is vast, larger than it seemed from the outside, circular, with no center, only walls, lined with rows upon rows of smooth, polished stone panels. Each panel is blank. At first glance, it looks like nothing has ever been written here, but as you move closer, something changes. The light shifts, or your perception does, and suddenly, you begin to see them. Names, faint, fleeting, not carved, but revealed by presence. They shimmer only when looked at, with intention. You whisper one aloud, Amaya, and the name glows gently, for a few seconds, then fades once more. You try another, Talon, another flicker. These are the names of those who were never written in scrolls, never etched in statues, never spoken of in public memory. Yet here, they live. The room holds those whom history forgot, but the temple remembered. Children who died too young, elders with no family left, servants never mentioned in royal tombs, artists whose work was lost before it was seen. They are not here for worship, nor mourning. They are here because they mattered, and someone, at some time, stood in this very place and said their name into the silence, and the temple, in its infinite patience, held it. You move slowly now, walking the perimeter. More names appear, and with them, impressions, not memories, but feelings. A woman who made bread for a village, every morning without fail. A boy who sang to the river at dusk, believing it could hear him. A soldier who carried wounded birds from battlefields, whispering apologies as he knelt in blood. You press your palm to one panel. It's warm. A name appears, only partly legible. Sir, Bria. You don't need the full name to feel the story. She was kind. She waited for someone who never returned. And still, she offered prayers for his safety until her last breath. Your eyes well with tears, not out of grief, but gratitude, because here, in this sacred chamber, nothing is lost, no soul, forgotten. You kneel, close your eyes, and softly, you whisper a name of your own, one you've never said aloud, one you've carried, in silence, a friend, a stranger, a part of you, long buried. You whisper, and the wall before you glows, not brightly, but enough, and for that moment, the forgotten is remembered. You feel a warmth wrap around you, as if arms from beyond have embraced you, as if the very soul you called whispered back, I'm here, I never truly left. You open your eyes, the glow fades, but something remains, a trace of presence, like the scent of rain, long after the clouds have passed. You rise, and now, you understand this room's purpose. It does not collect names. It honors them. It offers a final sanctuary for the quiet lives, the uncelebrated, the unspoken, the unseen. In this place, value is not measured by fame or power, only by presence, only by love. You step toward the exit, but before you leave, you bow deeply, not from ritual, but from reverence. The names do not call to be remembered, but you remember them anyway, because in this temple, every soul matters, even the silent ones, especially the silent ones. You step back into the corridor, carrying with you profound stillness. The names may fade from the walls, but they are now carved into your spirit. You walk forward, not as a visitor, but as a witness, and perhaps, someday, someone will whisper your name into this chamber, and the walls will glow again. You step out of the room of forgotten names, your breath slower, your heart quieter. The air is cooler now. You notice it instantly, a subtle shift, as if the very stones beneath your feet have exhaled. You descend. The passage slopes downward gently, stone giving way to smooth, worn marble, slick with time, and you begin to hear it. A sound so soft, could be the memory of a dream. Water, dripping, flowing, breathing. The walls become damp. The scent of moss, an ancient stone, fills your senses, and suddenly, you understand. There is a river beneath this temple, a river the world has forgotten, but the temple has never ceased to listen to. As you descend farther, the light dims, but your eyes adjust. Pale blue light seems to rise from the water itself, as if it carries the stars beneath its surface. You arrive at the river's edge, a narrow channel, serene and slow-moving, slicing through the belly of the temple, like a silver ribbon. It does not roar. It does not rush. It whispers. You kneel beside it. The surface is glass-like, yet moving, and in it, you see things, not reflections, not faces, moments. A monk dipping his hand into the water. After a long night of meditation, he weeps without sound. The water does not ripple, but it remembers. A girl kneeling beside the current, releasing a folded paper boat, with her brother's name inside. She smiles as it drifts away. The water carries it, like a prayer, a guardian, older than memory, placing a single petal into the stream. On the day she laid down her sword, the river has no mouth, no known beginning, it simply is, flowing through the dark, beneath temple and time, collecting sorrow, joy, forgiveness, and truth. You reach out, fingers brushing its surface. It is warm, unexpectedly so, not like fire, but like a memory you forgot you needed. Your eyes close, and it speaks, not in words, in remembrance. You see yourself, younger, searching. A night you stood by a lake, and wondered if anyone saw you, if anyone cared. The river saw. You see someone you lost, not in death, but in life. A friend, a soul who drifted. You feel their laughter, carried in this water, like a song without end. You see a version of yourself, you once buried, afraid, lonely, wanting to belong. The water has held them all, not to weigh you down, but to remind you, you were never invisible. Even your forgotten moments have a witness. You open your eyes. The river flows still, and you understand, this is not a place to take. It is a place to release. You search your thoughts, and slowly, softly, you gather a memory, one you've carried. In silence, you whisper it into your palm, then let your hand drift into the current. The water touches you, and just for a breath, you feel weightless, not empty, but freed. The river does not pull, it receives. You sit there for a while, beside its sacred current, watching, listening. You realize that each soul who has passed through this temple has left something here, a sorrow, a hope, a truth, and the river has remembered them all, not to keep them, but to honor them, a sacred flow of unseen history. You rise slowly. There is no bridge, no need. The path continues along the riverbank, leading onward into the deeper places of the temple. You walk now with a lighter step. The air around you hums, not from sound, but from stillness so deep, it vibrates. Before you go, you turn once more to look at the river. It flows without hesitation, without beginning, without end. And in its shimmering silence, you know this truth. The water remembers what the world forgets, carries not just tears, but songs, not just grief, but grace. And as you leave, you carry a part of it within you, still flowing, still listening, still alive. You follow the soft bend of the river until the stone beneath your feet gives way to something new, soil, warm, fragrant, alive, and then a breeze, soft as silk, cool as memory. You pause, inhaling deeply. The scent is impossible to describe, like twilight, like silence wrapped in the petals of a forgotten flower. You step into the garden. It is dusk here, always dusk, not from the absence of light, but from the choice to remain between day and night. The sky above you, if it is sky, glows with muted lavender and rose, a constant golden hour that never fades and never brightens. The garden blooms all around, but not brightly, not wildly. The colors are soft, like dreams whispered into the earth. Every flower here seems to hold a shadow beneath its petals. You reach out to one, a deep indigo blossom, with curling tips, like a sleeping flame. As your fingertips graze its surface, a memory rises, but not yours. A woman once knelt here, beneath the same flower. She had lost her child to a long illness, too long, too cruel. She came not to forget, but to remember gently, to leave the pain, but keep the love. The flower blooms again. In her name, you walk slowly now, through winding stone paths, lined with flickering lanterns. They emit no flame, only warmth. You begin to notice that each flower holds a whisper of shadow within it, but the shadows don't feel dark. They feel honest, whole. In this sacred garden, even sorrow has beauty, even loss finds a way to bloom. You pause at a low marble bench, wrapped in ivy, and resting beside a weeping tree. You sit, the leaves above sway, without wind, as if moved by old lullabies, still caught in the branches. You close your eyes and listen. You hear a father telling his daughter why the stars fade. When the sun returns, he says, they don't disappear, they just rest, like we must sometimes. You hear a song from a language long forgotten, not because it died, but because its last speaker sang it into the wind and never needed to be heard, to be real. You hear footsteps from a century ago, two lovers meeting here in secret, planting a flower no one else would ever see but them. The garden is not silent. It is humming with quiet truth. You rise and walk deeper. Pond appears before you, still, round, glass-like. On its surface, lilies bloom in shades you've never known. Midnight silver, ash rose, moon blue, each one gently opening and closing, as if breathing. You kneel beside it, and for a moment, you see your own shadow, reflected in the water. But it doesn't feel separate. It feels companioned. In the garden, you are whole, not because you are perfect, but because you are held. Every flaw, every sorrow, every tired silence in your chest, it is welcome here. This is not a place of judgment. It is a place of release, a sanctuary for those who never had one. You stand. Around you, the garden continues, a soft labyrinth of dark blossoms and whispered stories. And then you find something new, a tree in the center of the garden, tall, sturdy, ancient. Its bark is deep gray, like old stone. Its leaves glow faintly, like fireflies caught in prayer. You approach, and on its trunk, you notice marks, soft carvings, symbols, names, not loud, not proud, but sacred. You touch the tree and feel a pulse, not of life, but of memory. You sense the hands that once touched it, people who had no place to grieve, no words to say, but who found this garden and left their love, not in tears, but in presence. You close your eyes and let your hand rest against the bark. You think of the parts of yourself you've kept buried, the regrets, the missed chances, the truths you never shared, and gently you let them rise. The tree does not ask you to be brave. It simply receives. When you open your eyes again, you feel lighter, not because the pain is gone, but because it was witnessed, honored, planted into the soil of something ancient and eternal. You walk once more through the dusk, and just before leaving the garden, you turn. You bow, not in worship, but in gratitude, because now you understand. The garden doesn't ask you to forget your shadows, teaches you to let them bloom. And as you step forward, the petals behind you close gently, like dreams returning to their roots. You leave the garden with silence in your footsteps, a hush in your breath, and a warmth in your bones that wasn't there before. The path narrows again, no longer earthen, but smooth stone once more, cool to the touch, carved gently by time and passage. As you walk, the air grows still, as if the space itself is pausing, waiting. Up ahead, you see it, not a wall, not a gate, a door, but unlike any you've seen before, stands alone, anchored in the stone, with no frame, no hinges, no visible handle. It is tall, taller than any person, made not of wood or metal, but of something quieter, something that seems to absorb the light around it. This is the door that listens. You don't need anyone to explain it. Your soul already knows. This door cannot be opened by force, or by entitlement, or even by need. It opens when you are willing. You approach slowly, heart calm, but curious. The surface of the door shimmers faintly, not like gold or silver, but like still water, beneath moonlight. And then you hear it, not with your ears, but with something deeper. A question, unspoken, gentle, but clear. Are you ready to listen to yourself? You stand before the door, feeling its presence, like breath on your skin. This is not a test. There is no pass or fail, only choice. The door will not force itself open. It will not judge your silence. It will simply wait. You kneel, close your eyes, and let the question settle into your chest. You begin to listen, first to the surface thoughts, noise and echoes, memories and plans, then deeper, beneath the stories you tell others, and deeper still, beneath the stories you've told yourself. And there, you find it, a quiet, Not emptiness, just stillness that has been waiting to be heard. You whisper aloud, "Yes, I am ready." And the door shimmers, not with sound, not with movement, but with a subtle shift. You feel it, a warmth in your palms, a loosening in your breath. You place your hand on the door. It is not cold. It is not hard. It feels like presence. And without a creak, without a sound, it begins to open, but not outward, not inward. It dissolves, like mist caught in morning light, revealing not a room, not a chamber, but an invitation. You step through, and immediately you understand. This space is made of listening. There are no walls, no ceiling, only a vast openness, wrapped in quiet color, pale blues, deep violets, the kind of hues that only show themselves when you stop trying to see them. In this space, everything slows. Even your heartbeat feels like a whisper of something sacred. You are alone, but not lonely, because the listening is alive. You speak softly. "I have carried things I never knew how to name. I have hurt people, and I have been hurt. I have doubted myself in places I thought I was strong. And I have loved in ways I never fully understood, until it was too late." The space does not echo. It absorbs, like a sacred ear that never interrupts. You feel no shame, only relief, to be heard, not by others, but by the quietest part of yourself. You sit in this space, unfolding, one truth at a time. No rush, no pressure, because here, there is only now. And in this now, you find something unexpected, a memory of a time you listened, really listened, to someone else. And for a moment, you remember how powerful that was, how healing, how human. The space around you begins to shift again, not because you asked it to, but because you trusted it to. You stand, and for the first time, you feel the door again behind you, not as a barrier, but as a threshold you chose to cross. And when you step back through it, the path is different, not in direction, but in weight, lighter, truer. And you are different too. Not new, not fixed, just more fully you. You turn to look at the door one last time. It has returned to stillness, waiting for the next soul, willing to be listened to. You smile, not because the journey is over, but because it has deepened. The temple calls you forward once more, and you walk, not as a guest, but as a part of its silence, a silence that listens back. You step gently forward, the echo of the door that listens, still warm behind you, like the fading hush of a lullaby. The path shifts again, widening, softening. The air becomes cooler, yet not cold, more like a hand brushing lightly against your cheek, inviting you to follow. You do, and ahead, you hear it. Not voices, not footsteps, breath, not yours, not singular, but many, rising, falling, a chamber built from inhalation and exhalation, a sacred rhythm, older than language itself. You arrive at an arched corridor. Its walls ripple slightly, like silk stirred by a quiet breeze. And then you see it carved above the entrance, the archive of breath. You step inside, and suddenly, you are surrounded by the softest winds you've ever known. They don't howl, they don't rush, they whisper, moving around you, through you, as if carrying stories that only breath could preserve. You walk deeper, and you begin to notice this place is not filled with books. There are no shelves, no scrolls, yet it is more complete than any library, because this archive is made of moments inhaled and truths exhaled. You stop, and the wind pauses too, just long enough to let you feel it, the breath of a monk, pausing before a vow, the gasp of a child, seeing stars for the first time, the sigh of an elder, forgiving himself after a long life. They live here, preserved in wind. You touch the wall, and it moves, not away from you, but with you, a A current of air curls around your wrist, gentle and playful, like a curious memory, trying to be remembered. Then, a breeze at your back, guiding you toward the center. And there it is, a circle of stones, perfectly smooth, gently lit from above. By no visible source, you step inside it, and the air around you stills, as if waiting. You close your eyes, and you breathe, like the first breath, after waking from a dream, out like the final note of a favorite song. And in that rhythm, the archive opens itself to you, not through sight, but through sensation. You feel the breath of a dancer, spinning alone under moonlight, every movement a conversation. With gravity, you feel the last breath of a teacher, surrounded by silence, but carrying peace. In her final exhale, you feel the sharp inhale of a traveler, standing before an ocean he thought he'd never see again. And then, you feel your own breath, the way you did, the first time you noticed it was yours. Not automatic, not mindless, but a miracle. Every breath is a message you've sent to the world. I'm still here. I choose to remain. I'm willing to feel. You sit down inside the circle of stone. The air moves slowly now, like pages turning themselves. You are being read, not judged, just known. And with each breath, something in you opens. You remember a time. You held your breath, waiting for someone's approval. You remember a time. You lost it, to grief, to fear, to wonder. And now, you release it, willingly, lovingly. The winds around you shift. No longer random. They're forming something. A shape, a dance, a story. Yours, built not from what you said, but from how you breathed. In hesitation, in hope, in heartbreak, in healing. And as the winds trace your outline, you understand, this archive is not just memory. It's a mirror. You rise from the stone floor, eyes soft, lungs open, and as you stand, you take one last inhale, deep, steady, true, and then you exhale, not just air, but understanding. You look around one last time. There are no records here, no shelves to dust, no tomes to guard, only breath, each one a sacred syllable. In the endless poem of being alive, you bow slightly, and the air bows back, not in farewell, but in recognition, because now you know, breath is not a background. It is a witness, a recorder, a sacred keeper of the moments, too quiet for words. You leave the archive of breath with a lighter chest and a deeper stillness. The temple welcomes you forward, and the winds behind you carry your story gently, joining the endless rhythm of all who came before. The wind from the archive of breath trails behind you, quiet now, as if it too wishes to listen. The corridor narrows again, arched, polished smooth by years of silent passage. There are no torches, no lanterns, and yet there is light, soft and golden, like the quiet before sunrise. You follow the light, each step echoing faintly, as if the walls are beginning to notice you, and then you arrive. A wide, domed room opens before you. It is empty, at least at first glance, but you know by now, emptiness here never means absence. It means invitation. You enter slowly. The air shifts, the sound of your footsteps, clearer now. You pause, and something incredible happens. Your last footstep echoes, not immediately, but with patience. The sound waits, hangs there, and then returns to you, gently, curiously, as if it asked permission first. This is the chamber of echoes, where sound does not bounce blindly, but learns to listen before it replies. You walk forward, and your breath becomes part of the room. Your smallest movement carries weight, not heavy, but meaningful. A whisper here is as sacred as a chant. You speak softly, "Hello," and the echo comes back, not instantly, but after a thoughtful pause. "Hello," but it's not quite your voice. It's softer, wiser, like it remembered what you meant, not just what you said. You kneel at the center of the chamber. Around you, the dome curves, like a great listening ear. You speak again, this time a little more. There are things I've said, and wished I could take back. Words spoken in anger, or fear, or pain. The room stays quiet, waiting, and then the echo answers, but not with your words, with what they meant. I wanted to protect myself. I didn't know how else to ask for help. I was afraid of being unseen. You feel your throat tighten, but not in pain, in recognition. The chamber has no interest in judgment, only in clarity. You stand, take a breath, and try again. There were things I should have said, but didn't. I kept quiet, because I didn't want to burden anyone. I thought silence was safer, and the chamber listens, then replies. Your silence spoke too. It was heard by those who needed to hear it, and it can still become voice. You begin to understand. This place isn't just for sound. It's for the echoes you carry inside you, the words you repeat, in your mind, when no one else is listening. The regrets, the wishes, the what-ifs, they live here too, not to haunt you, but to be heard. You move to the edge of the chamber, where the wall curves down like a wave. There, etched in the stone, you see it. Sound is a circle. It always finds its way back. You close your eyes, and you whisper, something only you know, something you've never said aloud. You let it go, and you wait. The pause is longer this time, the silence, deeper, and then the echo returns. And this time, it isn't even words. It's a feeling, warmth, relief, forgiveness. You open your eyes. The chamber glows, a little more now, as if your honesty has lit something from within. You sit for a while, no need to speak, just allowing the echoes of your breath, your thoughts, your truths to ripple softly against the curved stone. And in this stillness, you realize not everything needs to be answered immediately. Not every truth needs to be shouted. Some just need to be heard by the part of you that's been waiting to listen. You rise, and you walk toward the exit, where the archway glows faintly. As you step out, you turn back one last time. The chamber echoes one final gift, your own voice, from earlier. I was afraid of being unseen, but this time, the echo adds something new. You are seen, and you see yourself now. You bow gently, and step forward, into the next silence, which waits for you with open arms. You step beyond the chamber of echoes, carrying nothing, and yet somehow carrying everything. The hallway narrows now, and the light dims, not in darkness, but in softness, as if inviting you inward, rather than forward. Each step is quieter than the last. It's as though even the air has decided to hold its breath. Then you see it, a doorway carved with nothing, no markings, no symbols, not even a name, only smooth, untouched stone. You push it open with both hands, and step into a room, unlike any before. It is round, perfectly symmetrical. The walls shimmer faintly, like water waiting to ripple, and at the very center, a single mirror, or at least, it appears to be one. Tall, framed in obsidian stone. The surface is smooth and radiant, but when you look into it, you see nothing. No face, no silhouette, not even a shadow, just a blank canvas of shifting silver light. You tilt your head, step closer. Still, no reflection, and in this absence, you begin to feel something strange, relief. Here, you are not defined by the lines of your face, your age, your story. Here, you are not a name, not a history, not a role. Here, you simply are. You sit before the mirror, cross-legged, curious, and slowly, the mirror begins to move, not in form, but in feeling. Its surface pulses, gently, like a heart that listens, but never speaks first. You close your eyes, not to escape, but to deepen, and a voice, not from the mirror, but from inside you, asks softly, If you are not your reflection, then who are you? You breathe, you listen, and you answer, not aloud, but in presence. I am the part of me that watches, the quiet witness, the one who stayed, through every change. The mirror hums, the room warms. Another question surfaces. If you were not given a name, what would you become? You smile slightly, and you say, I would become breath, or stillness, or that feeling, between the notes of music. The mirror does not judge, it simply receives, and you realize this is not a test. It is a return to the part of you that existed before you were told who to be. You rise, walk to the mirror, and place your hand upon its smooth, cold surface. Still, no reflection, but now you feel something else, a pulse, your own, echoed back to you, not as image, but as presence. You whisper, I don't need to see myself to know I am here, and the mirror begins to glow, not brightly, but steadily, warmly, softly, like a truth you always carried, but forgot how to say. And now, something new begins. Shapes emerge, in the surface, not of your body, but of your being. A swirl of blue light, your calm. A flicker of gold, your courage. A thread of green, your kindness. A pulse of red, your grief held gently. This is your reflection, not in form, but in essence. No longer bound by what others see, but revealed by what you choose to honor within. You step back. The mirror settles again into stillness. But now, you understand its gift. To see yourself without image is to know yourself beyond illusion. You bow deeply, not to the mirror, but to what you've reclaimed. And as you turn to leave, you catch something, just for a moment, in the corner of your eye. Your reflection, not full, just a flicker, but this time, it's smiling. You exit through the nameless doorway, feeling lighter, quieter, truer, because in a temple that holds the silent rituals of time, you have discovered the rarest vision of all, the self that remains when all else is stripped away. You step out from the chamber of formless truth, still warm from the absence of reflection, and the corridor ahead feels changed. It spirals upward, gently, patiently, like a thread of smoke, curling through time. The air is cooler here, not cold, just aware. There is a hush in this part of the temple, not of silence, but of anticipation. You are approaching the end, but it doesn't feel like a finish. It feels like a choice. As you walk, the walls begin to narrow, not oppressively, but intimately, as if the temple itself is moving closer to you, one last time, before letting go. At the top of the spiral path, a door waits. Unlike the others, this one glows faintly, from within. You place your hand upon it, and it opens without resistance. What you see is breathtaking in its simplicity. A tower room, tall, circular, stone smooth and dark, like untouched onyx, and in the center, rising from the floor on a pedestal of white marble, a single candle, unlit. It stands there, as if it has waited 1,000 years, just for you. The room has no torches, no lanterns, no windows, only this candle, and the silence that surrounds it. You step toward it, slowly. There is no rush now, only reverence. As you approach, you notice something on the base of the candle's pedestal. Not a symbol, not a message, but a space, a shallow indentation, shaped exactly like. This is not just any candle. This is your light, the one you were born with, the one you have protected through every shadow, the one that never left, even when you thought it had. You step back, and you see that the room offers nothing else. No tools, no matches, no flint, because this final flame cannot be sparked by anything external. It must be chosen. Within you, a stillness stirs, and from that stillness, something rises. A memory? A vow? No, a knowing. You close your eyes, and for a long, quiet moment, you feel everything. The first time you were brave, the first time you forgave, the first time you let go, the moments you stayed, when you could have run, the times you softened, when it would have been easier to harden. These were your sparks, tiny, invisible embers. You left along the trail. Now, they gather. You open your eyes, and you whisper, not loudly, but truly, I choose to carry the light. And as the final word leaves your lips, the candle flickers. Just once, as if blinking, as if surprised, then again, and again, until a soft, steady flame rises into the air, not bright, not blinding, but real. It illuminates nothing but the space it's given, and that is enough. You kneel before it. This is not a flame to be used, not a torch to be raised, not a signal to the world. This is a flame to sit beside, to remember, to honor, and perhaps to share when someone else forgets their own. You sit in stillness, and the candle burns quietly beside you. No crackle, no hiss, only glow. And in that glow, you remember the temple was never guiding you toward answers. It was guiding you toward your choice. And now, you've made it. You may rise now. The door behind you remains open, but there's no rush. You may stay a little longer, beside the flame, within your breath, beyond your reflection, within your truth, because the final candle was never meant to light the temple. It was meant to remind you that you were always the light you were searching for. The candle behind you still burns, quiet and gentle. It asks for nothing, demands nothing, just remains, like truth, like breath, like you. You rise from the smooth stone floor, stretching your fingers slowly, as if waking from a long dream. You didn't know you were dreaming, and yet you were awake the whole time. The door to the tower stands open, not calling you, not pushing you, just waiting. You take one last look at the flame, your flame, and step through the doorway, into the soft spiral path once more. But something has changed. The way the stone feels, beneath your feet, the way the air brushes against your skin, the way your body moves, not with effort, but with understanding. You are no longer walking through a temple. You are walking through yourself. Each step downward feels like a return, not to what you were, but to what you have always quietly been. You pass once more the corridors you climbed, the chamber of echoes, now still, whispering your voice back to the world, the mirror without reflection, which now holds, not your face, but your essence, the empty library, the breath-holding statues, the scent of ancient jasmine in the garden of waiting. Each place you pass offers you something you didn't notice before, a stillness, a nod, a softness in the air that recognizes your presence, not as a visitor, but as a part of its story. The temple no longer feels mysterious, feels familiar, because it was never just a place. It was always a path. And you were always the traveler, the architect, and the key. At the bottom of the spiral, you find it, a simple wooden door, worn with age, barely held together. It is not grand, not ceremonial, but it is real. This is the exit. You place your hand on the handle, and for a moment, you pause, not in fear, but in respect, because you know, exits are not endings, they are openings, disguised as farewells. You open the door, and you are met with night, stars, stillness, a breeze that carries the scent of wild things. You step out. The temple stands behind you, tall and silent beneath the moon. But when you look back, it's no longer a towering structure of stone. It's a shape, a shadow, a memory pressed into the earth. You walk forward. There is no path, but you don't need one, because now you carry the map within you, and more importantly, you carry the light, not to illuminate the world, but to remind you how to walk through its darkness. Without fear, you pause, At a clearing just ahead, you sit. The stars look down, silent witnesses to your journey. And in the stillness, you realize the journey didn't end at the temple. It began there. It begins here. It begins every time you choose to return to your breath, your truth, your silent knowing. The rituals of the ancients were never about control. They were about connection to time, to self, to something larger, but also deeply intimate. You are the temple now. You are the flame. You are the doorway, the echo, the question, and the answer. So when the world grows loud, and your reflection feels foreign, and your light flickers, you will remember there is always a way back in, and it doesn't require miles. Just a pause, just a breath, just a choice. You lay back in the grass, and as your eyes grow heavier, the stars begin to blur, and with your final waking thought, you whisper, "The temple sleeps within me now." And then you drift, not away, but deeper in, where every ending is just a beginning, folded gently into silence. And in that sacred silence, you are home,